highlight the question, please.
Yes, I have a question, and it's probably for me, but if our presenters can answer, then that is also fine. Are you aware of any countries with no requirements on airtightness levels in their building codes? Or in fact, are you aware of any countries which are against imposing stronger requirements as opposed to the requirements that they have currently in place?
I guess I can answer partially this question, and probably Peter will be able to also give a little bit of insight to it. So I know that there are a couple of countries where there are actually requirements on airtightness, on envelope airtightness, like the UK, Ireland, France also more recently. So in these countries, you have a minimum airtightness requirement for the envelope. Well, it's usually for certain types of buildings, so it may be only for residential buildings or only for other types of buildings. But in any case, there is a minimum requirement for the airtightness of these buildings. Now, I think the second part of the question was the opposite. Basically, are there countries where it's not allowed to go below a certain airtightness level? And I think that's the case in very special cases in the Netherlands, but I think that Peter is more familiar with this. Peter? Peter, are you here? Oh, not yet. Okay. So I think that well, when you have natural ventilation systems in multifamily buildings, then in the Netherlands you cannot go below a certain level of the airtightness of the building. But I'm not aware of all the details of it. But maybe if Peter is able to join us a little bit later, then we'll have more details about this. Okay, well, now I suggest that we proceed with our. I have a couple of questions that have raised.
Yes, thank you very much for the very informative presentations, Ioan and Horia. And I have a couple of questions. First of all, do you have any information on the number of specialists who can perform air leakage tests in Romania? And the second of it is, what is the typical cost of airtightness tests in Romania, and how does that compare with other countries, you know?
So, or Ioan, can you answer this question?
Well, I can try to answer. I do not know how to answer. We have such an equipment. It's not very modern. We used to use it in research activities, but we are not currently performing commercial tests. I cannot answer on the amount of money, how much does it cost such a test, and neither for having
but are companies that offer this service in Romania?
Can I give
Sure.
an answer here? When we made the agreement for our air ducts in our factory, we had a collaboration with the Technical University from Bucharest with their research laboratory. They made all the testing for our ducts. We produce rectangular air ducts and also circular air ducts, and they made and they are agreed by Romanian or how it's named Romanian Institute
accreditation body.
Yes, it's the accreditation body to do this, and also in INCERC, I know they made agreement for air ducts. We spoke about that.
But I understand that there is a limited number of people who are actually doing that. Okay.
Indeed, I know in INCERC and Technical University from Bucharest, they can do that.
Okay.
Regarding the cost from my production to agree to have an agreement, it's around 1,500 euro to make the argumentation for that.
Okay. Yes, I understand that there was also a question about how much it costs in other countries. Well, I can say roughly what it costs in France. Well, we have it's basically about 450 euros for a pressurization test for the envelope today. Well, a couple of years ago, it was over 1,000 euros, and the price has gone down quite a bit because of competition between the various testers. Because a couple of years ago there was only 20 testers, and now there's over 200 persons who are qualified to perform such tests. So this gives you also some insight of how much it costs. Okay, do we have other questions?
We have other three questions also addressed to the Romanian speakers. The first one is probably again for Horia mainly. It is about having pilot projects of passive houses or low energy houses in Romania. If you can provide some examples of such projects, demo projects, or more if you know something about the plans of the Ministry of Regional Development to impose the kind of standards towards low energy buildings in Romania. The first question, I will come back with the other two after the answer.
Yes, we'll try once again to answer. I was not involved in any passive house demonstration projects, but however there are some. There are some attendees, I saw them on the list, from the Polytechnica University and also from the Architecture University of Bucharest. They are dealing with demonstration of pilot passive house in Bucharest. There are several, I think, if one is interested, can Google for that to find the material in Romania.
And can tell also here in Timișoara, the West University has a European program, the Research Institute in Advanced Environmental and Research. We just meet with our team, design team here in our company, the feasibility study. This institute should be a passive house. It's around 4,400 square meters, and we intend to use heat pumps and PV panels and all these things, and that will be with European money. Will be a project for European money. That means, how I said before, the passive house, it's a stage in the way to attain the goal for nearly zero energy buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So the other two related questions. One is about the thermal rehabilitation of the buildings. If there are certain barriers to improve the airtightness during the thermal rehabilitation of a building in Romania. The second question, which is related, it is about what do you think by imposing minimal values for airtightness of buildings in the thermal regulation in Romania? Probably both Romanian speakers can answer. I don't know who would be the first. Maybe again Horia. Sorry.
Okay. The first question.
What are the barriers to improve the ventilation?
Yes,
during the thermal rehabilitation.
Improve the air tightness. I don't think there is about barriers. In fact, improving air tightness. The problem is that you not properly address the indoor environment and quality in the rehabilitation. So the ventilation system is not effectively addressed. So at the end of the rehabilitation, you have a very airtight or more or less airtight building with no nose to breathe, no ventilation system. So this is the problem. So you cannot about barrier in airtightness, but yes, by not providing any funding in a very generous funded rehabilitation program for ventilation, this is a barrier.
In fact, the question was how to improve the ventilation when we made the building rehabilitation. That I could understand. Anyway, more than 85% of residential buildings in Romania don't have ventilation systems. It's only natural ventilation in the kitchen, and in the bathroom. But that is what we have. The most main activity in building rehabilitation it's the work to the envelopes and the building services. It's not done. In fact, see a balance between the rehabilitation envelope and building services. Because, how I said before, a building which is too tight could be health building. That is clear.
Oh, well, thank you for these answers. I think that is one key problem that was raised by the two of you about the fact that you should think both of airtightness and ventilation. And actually, I think that's Horia who mentioned the issue of combustion appliances inside the dwellings. And in fact, in that case, it can be very dangerous if you don't have ventilation provisions.
Yes.
So you have to be really careful about that. Also, another thing, we mentioned a lot very low energy buildings and more specifically safe houses, but in fact, well, there are many other concepts of low energy buildings. Ioan mentioned many of them, energy, and there's also the active house concept, which is also being developed and which is actually operational now. And I think you information on their website now. I think we have a couple of other questions. There was a question, I think, about...
Remi, there is a question on designing the national limits for airtightness, and what's the best way of doing that? Is it through field measurements on a large number of buildings, or through calculation procedures? What are your views on that?
Obviously, you should have both, actually, because you should be aware of what is the status with the end leakage and ductwork leakage in the building stock. Then you should be able to find out how this is going to impact energy performance of the buildings. So both need to be led in parallel. So that's a little bit problematic because sometimes we are actually done by the time, and it's difficult to carry out field measurements on top of that. But both are really necessary to make relevant to set relevant limits for the airtightness of buildings or ductwork. We have options. I should say also that through calculation procedures now we have there are two national European standards, EN 15241 and 15242, that allow you to actually make a reasonable estimate the energy implications of poor airtightness. So it's not easy to implement that in an energy performance calculation, but it's possible. Do you have other questions?
Well, I have one question. In fact, is to stress another question I addressed previously about the roadmap, the Romanian roadmap towards nearly zero energy buildings. So if someone from the Romanian speakers knows something about these plans, if Romania, the ministry, already started to design this roadmap, or it's still a pending problem and should be addressed later on.
As far as I know, there is a pending problem, unfortunately. At one time or another, at the end we have to answer, we as Romania. So it will be a step to do it, because there will be obligations in the transposition of EPBD. For the moment, unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, it's pending.
So I agree with Horia. To be honest, for the moment, it's too early to discuss about that in Romania. The passive house could be a step, and there is action in that way. But regarding nearly zero energy building, in fact, in Europe, it's not defined yet. We expect to define the optimal cost in 30th of June. I know it's the deadline for that from the European Commission, and after that to see we will define the nearly zero energy building. REHVA has a task force in that issue, and you should see in the REHVA journal, in the last REHVA journal, it's presented in large that issue, the nearly zero energy building in Europe.
Well, I have to partially disagree. It's not too early. I think I'm afraid it's too late for us, but we'll see. For setting the roadmap on nearly zero energy building and all that tasks that are imposed to us is not too early to start.
Thank you.
I think we time for one more question.
I want to be diplomatic here, not to be.
Okay.
That was the reason, because I gave it that answer. It's only, and that's it. But I agree with you.
Okay. It's time for one more question. Is there any?
Well, it is one, but I just received it just a moment, because it is quite difficult to read it in my
we cannot hear you. Hello?
Yeah, to see the question. We just received it on chat. Do you understand it, Marina?
So the question is regarding schools in Romania and what the plans are for setting requirements on ventilation and indoor air quality specifically for schools, and if there's a timeline there, and if you know where would they be or when they would be incorporated.
I think there is a problem with regulation. It's a problem of compliance system, problem of qualification. So the changes that I addressed and I mentioned in my presentation relate to the key actors, and there are many key actors, each of them having its importance, and also the compliance system. So the inspectors are one of the key actors, and how to check if the thing has been done, how to provide the necessary solutions, how to interact with the key actors, the architect, the designer, the energy auditors, and all that. It's difficult to implement. I think this is the problem, not the existing regulation. I admit in the existing regulation there are some problems. It's necessary to detail, but one should read the relation and then be careful to apply it.
Well, thank you very much for your answers, and thank you again very much also for your presentations. I think they were really very informative and very, very good. I think that we will now move on to the conclusions of